Hello. Today we're going to be tuning a motor on an 8400 Topline C. The motor we're using is a Lenze MCS06 C41. You can use other manufacturers' motors, but in this case we're tuning a Lenze motor. First thing we want to do is we're going to make sure our drive is set up and our motor is set up such that we can tune. What we want to see here is I've used a program that I wrote, but you'll be actually doing this with your application. You want to make sure that your motor can run. There's nothing inhibiting it. We want to make sure the motor data is in there. You can find Lenze motors in the motor catalog. You also want to make sure that your feedback system is selected. Otherwise your motor will not run, or it will fault. So now I want to go ahead and set up my oscilloscope, just getting ready for what we're going to have to do. You're going to see something similar to what I have here. This is a capture with the gains that we currently have. And how I set this up is I went down and picked motion control kernel, speed set value A, and motor interface, motor speed set actual. I set these up to be 100 RPM per division. It depends on what you have for your actual RPM, but these should match such that they overlay. Also, you want to set up your triggers. It's not necessary in my case with the repetitive movement, but if you have movements that are single, one-shot moves, you'll want to set up triggers such that you capture the movement. And you do that up here. You'll pick what your variable is you want to trigger off of. In this case, it's speed actual. And your trigger value, I picked 5 RPM. It could be whatever you need. And change your edge. So when I'm passing 5 RPM in the positive direction, that's when I trigger. Also make sure you set up your time base and sample rate reflecting what you need. As for the gains, they're under application parameters and servo control. If you scroll to the right, you're going to see VP current controller and TI current controller. These are for your torque controller gains. If you have a Lenze motor, you don't need to do anything here, so those are already done for you. If you have a third-party motor, you'll have to go back here. When you enter your motor data, after you've entered your motor data, you do an identification in progress. What this will do is it will read the values off of the motor and input them for you into the torque controller. So now back here, again, torque controller is done. Now we want to look at the speed controller. That's right here, the VP speed controller and TI speed controller. These are what we're going to focus on. So right now it's 5 for your VP gain and 50 milliseconds for your TI gain. Let's see how it runs. So we're going to go to the oscilloscope. We're going to start. And what you're going to wait to see is wait for trigger. Now I can enable the drive and run my application. It captured, so I'm going to disable and load oscillogram. You can see it didn't change a whole lot. This is pretty much what I had before. But that's what I wanted to see. You can see that it's a pretty weak signal. It's not reaching the set point when it should be, the blue line, because it should match the blue line. Okay, the green line here is kind of lagging. So what we want to do is we want to go back to our gains. And in this case, I've done this before, so I know I need to increase my P gain. When you do this, you'll have to increase yours as well. Go back, run my oscilloscope. Start my drive. Begin the application. Disable. And check the oscilloscope. You can see it get a little bit better. It's fair. So let me go back. And let's instead drop. This is a fairly large value. It's default. Let's drop this value. This is your TI, the I gain. And let's start off with, I don't know, 25. Let's reduce it by half and see what it does. Go back to your scope, start, wait for the trigger, enable, run the app, disable, and load. That looks a lot better. So you can see that we're getting closer to the set point. Let's reduce it even more. Let's go down to 15. Start, enable, run the app, disable, load the oscillogram, and you can see it's much, much better. In fact, this is pretty much perfect, and I'd like to end it here. Now, what we did was we increased the P gain and we decreased the I gain. Now, these were default values. You may have to increase your P gain until it becomes unstable, reduce it by 10 to 15%, and then increase your I gain until it becomes perfectly stable again. At this point, I don't have anything else to show. All tuning examples or situations are all different, so please feel free to experiment and try different things, and use the oscilloscope to tell you how they're actually acting. Thank you.